All right, guys, so today we're going to talk about internal competitions for your sales team, your fulfillment team, marketing. You can use this for basically anybody or any group of your business that you want to motivate. I'm going to break it down on a couple that we've actually ran, and then I'm going to give you guys one that I think is probably the coolest internal competition that I've ever heard of. We haven't actually ran it, but it came from Patrick Bet-David, and it's brilliant. So first thing I want to break down is there's a few different types. We've got individual, we've got record holder, and we've got group. So I'm going to start with individual. When we're thinking of individual internal competitions, right, whenever we have a new hire that comes on, and I'm going to talk specifically to sales, we want to give them a ladder to climb, right? We want to give them objectives to shoot for, right? So you can think of it as a milestone 1, milestone 2, milestone 3. And in another video, I'm going to explain to you guys how this actually helps and goes exactly with our onboarding training process and our promotion process. But for now, we're just going to stick to the milestones. So one competition that we've ran, which I'm going to pop up some pictures so you guys can see exactly what it looks like, is whenever we had a new hire that came in, the first milestone, for example, could be, let's call it 100,000 in cash collected, right? Our second milestone could be 250K, right? And our third, let's say, is 500. Each time they'd hit these milestones, one, it was a great opportunity for us to be able to go in and recognize them in front of the entire company, which we can cue the video and show you what this looks like. But two, what we did is we gave them a big check. It was probably about, I don't know, this big. We'd sign it in front of everybody in the morning meeting, and we would give it to them, and they weren't actually able to get the smaller check that they could take to the bank and they could cash until they met their next milestone. So let's say at 100,000, they got a big monster check for 1,500. They aren't actually able to cash this until they meet their next milestone. When they meet their next milestone, they get this check, right? They get another big check, okay, for let's call it 3,000. Right? And they can't cash that until they make their next milestone. So essentially what we're doing is we're giving them recognition of meeting a big milestone. They're staring at a big check that they have. We either mail it to them or we give it to them in the office. And what that does is they are staring at this big check, staring at the $1,500 almost as it's a savings account that they don't have access to or they lost the password to, for example. And as soon as they meet their next milestone, they get to cash that, they get their next big check, right? And they have to wait till their next milestone to be able to cash that next check, okay? So essentially it's constantly driving them down the path that we want them to be driven down, and it gives them objectives and targets to shoot for right out the gate as soon as they're done with training. Okay, super powerful. It's worked extremely well. If you want to go to Amazon, you can get the same checks that you're seeing in these photos and these videos, but very easy to set up, very easy to run, very easy to track, and very, very powerful. Okay, now with that being said, we're going to move into record holder, and this is where I'm going to bring in probably one of the coolest campaigns that I've ever heard of, which is how Patrick ran PHP's most wanted list. Okay, so if you have a company, let's say your company is our company, Sales Momentum, right? You would create a campaign around Sales Momentum's most wanted list. Okay, now let me explain. What that means is if Gavin here, who's holding the camera, has the biggest record week of cash collected ever, right? His face goes up on our most wanted list with a bounty, and it's capture or kill. So the next person who breaks that record, right, they're the new person who's on that most wanted list. They take over, right? Their picture goes up over Gavin's, right? And they receive the bounty for capturing or killing Gavin's record, right? So you can do this with most cash in a week, biggest deal, most sets, highest show rate, highest close rate. You can do it with quickest to be promoted. You can do it with all these different types of challenges. And especially if you're in a solar company or a door-to-door, or you have an office that's a highly competitive sales environment, again, probably the coolest competition that I've ever heard of. Easy to do, super motivating for the team, awesome to run, creates great content, I'm sure, right? The next one I'm going to give you guys is one that we actually ran, and it was our record holder bat, okay? So we had a few different bats that went around our offices. For example, we had our heavy hitter. Okay, our heavy hitter was whoever had the highest record, I think it was the highest deal, the biggest deal closed. they would basically date, sign their name, and they would hold that bat until that record got broke. When the next person broke that record, which there's a video which we'll play going over kind of how it looks, but they would then date it so we could see how long they held it for, and they would hand it off to the next person who would then date the date that they received it, sign their name, and so on and so forth. Okay, so small, innovative competitions that really get your team running, going for things, recognizing them, and yeah, just motivates the hell out of them to perform. Okay. Last thing I'm going to say is group. So without going too much into this, when we're building our sales teams, we always build different pods. Okay, and there's going to be a different video that goes over how we break down our pod structures. Actually, I think there is one. We'll link it to the end of this video. So we have different pods: sales team 1, sales team 2, sales team 3, right? And every single month, they're competing for a consistent monthly competition, okay? So let's say pod 1 does, 1 million, pod 2 does 800K, right? And pod 3 does 1.3 mil, okay? Pod 3 would be the winner of this month's competition. So at the end of the month, right, they would be crowned for that month. They would be the holder. And essentially what we were giving them is we weren't giving them a big bonus. We were giving them a commission increase for the entirety of the next month. And the reason that we were doing that is because when you give big bonuses, especially in sales, right, it's very easy for people to just take their bonus, get relaxed, and go into the next month not really driven. So what we would do is if our pod 3 won, we would give them, for example, a 1.5% increase across the entire team. So if they did that 1.3 million, okay, or let's just say they did $1 million, easy math, right? And they were at 10% commission. If we gave them another percent, right, and they did that again, they would make another 10,000 or whatever the case might be, okay? So anyways, breaking it down one more time. Group competition is going to be competitive. It usually stays the same. It's month to month, quarter to quarter, right? What we did was month to month. Whoever the winner of the month was, they'd receive the crown, right? And they would get a commission increase for the entirety of the next month in order to get their bonus, right? So some cool competition ideas. I recommend if you guys are going to take anything, depending on if you're early on or if you're later on. If you're early on, run the milestones first. Create one for closers, create one for setters, create one for your fulfillment team, create one for your CSMs. You can do it on testimonials collected. You can do it on upsells, renewals. You can do it on a lot of different things, but create milestones. It's going to help you drive your team to where you want them to be, and it's going to help you develop people because you're giving them targets to shoot for. If you're a little bit bigger, or if you're a door-to-door, if you have a big office or anything along those lines, a really competitive team, run that most wanted list. Capture or kill. All you're gonna do, take the records that you have, take a picture of the person, throw them up on a most wanted poster, capture or kill, and then put a bounty to it. Right? Let's say it's $1,000, right? Gavin, who's holding the camera, comes in, knocks that out. The bounty is going to get raised. So let's say it goes to $1,500, right? And his name's going to go up on that record holder list for most wanted. Okay? If you're running a pod structure already, again, run a competitive monthly or quarterly competition, increase the commission, don't give bonus flat out, make them earn it for the next month. It'll drive them. If they have higher commissions for the following month, after they come off a big month, you can expect an even bigger month the next month. With that being said, I hope it helps, gives you some ideas. And if you have any questions, comment below. We're going to post the video about the pod structure in the next video.